Hey guys, this is Maria, and today I'll be talking with Hello, Sidhant. I am so happy to have you here and to learn more about your story. You know, you started a lot of projects, and projects are basically chances to turn your ideas into reality. And so I want to learn more about the first time you turned your idea into a reality and how this has changed things for you.
Well, firstly, thanks, Maria. Thank you so much for a lovely introduction. And let me see. So I think the first thing that I built that really got me into the whole sort of act of doing this over and over again is when I was 16, I broke a national record in India for building a robot. Came up with the idea because my parents kept comparing me to like some of my friends, and I got really annoyed, and I was like, okay, I'm going to break a world record, right? Um, and I think what was crazy for me is this journey of like, I put this crazy kind of goal with no sense of scale of like how big or small that was. And because I had no sense of scale and slowly started working towards it, I ended up breaking a national record, right? And actually, I broke a world record this year. So it's kind of crazy. So it was a big audacious goal. But I think that what happened is through that process, I ended up taking this crazy idea I had, working on it, and actually getting somewhere, right? And that drove a cycle for me to be able to do that again and again, because I realized that very often the thing that's limiting you is that you just aren't trying. So because for me it was a very shocking experience that because I tried, I actually managed to get somewhere with it. So so yeah, as a piece of advice, I would say if you have an idea, execute it, try it, right? Even if you do it totally wrong in like the totally wrong direction, you will still learn more than if you talked about it to 15 people but really didn't execute it nothing.
What about the resources that have helped you the most throughout your journey to create your ideas?
So I would say that, well, funnily enough, it's not material resources. When I reflect on my journey, I think it's not material resources that were ever what helped me in a funny way. It was emotional support, right? When you are trying to bring an idea into the world, work on it, execute on it, I think that you go through a lot of stress and pressure, right? Um, and it is really difficult. And I think that it's important to have someone who's there to support you. And for me, it was my parents. I was very lucky. My parents supported me throughout the way. They let me do what I wanted to do, even if it meant harm to me in a funny way, right? Even if it was risky, even if they let me do what I want to do and supported me. And I think that allowed me to learn from my mistakes. If they kind of protected me and told me, no, don't try this, I would have never learned from my mistakes and grown. So it's important to have people to support you, even if you're making a mistake, who support you and let you do what you need to do. And of course, it doesn't have to be a parent. It can be a friend, it can be a sibling, it can be anybody really.
Yeah, and it can also be yourself supporting you to the best ability, you know, because I think the best way of support I can give myself is to not waste the time that I have. And so tell me more about how you manage to overcome wasting time or just manage your time better.
Sure. So, well, I guess firstly, it was kind of need driven. So I keep trying different things. And I think that, everyone has a certain bandwidth. So you reach a point where you need more time, right? So you start thinking for the first time that I need to manage my time better, like I'm wasting my time. Um, so I think step one of like trying to manage your time better is you really need to want to do it. Uh, and for me, that was driven by an externality, which is like all these things. I had so much bandwidth and I had to do so much that I had to start thinking about what am I actually doing with my time. And so, yeah, if you're super convinced that you want to change, I think that's like step one. And if you do that, I think what you see is that you start noticing it. So if you are really wanting to like change your habit or like change, spend your time better, you'll notice that when you're wasting time, like which is, I don't know, 2 hours in during your Netflix 3 a.m. Netflix session, you like look back, you're like, oh shit, like I shouldn't be doing this. I really want to be doing that, right? And I think over a period of time, and it could be really short. Like some people, it's really quick. Like within a month or two, they can break a habit and optimize their time. For me, it took me like 2 years, I would say, to the point where I was very conscious and happy about how I was spending my time. So it's a slow, gradual process mostly, but it's very rewarding. Like if you start noticing that you're doing things that you really want to do, and you'll feel happier at the end of it. I feel, for me at least.
Yeah. What about the best piece of advice that you've ever gotten?
Best piece of advice. Well, so my grandfather actually gave me two pieces of advice, which I really love. The first is he said, "Brother, never lose hope." The second thing he said to me, which was, um, "Cherish the people who love you and love them back." Right. So, and that isn't just like family, but even your friends and connections, people who have um, helped you grow, who love you and support you. Stay close to them and value that relationship. That relationship, I mean, ideally, you make sacrifices for those relationships over your career or your professional life, right? Those are the most important thing in the world. So yeah, never give up. Just keep swimming, even when things are dark, and cherish who you love, and yeah, be close to them.
I love that. I really do. So it's time for our section called It Wasn't a Piece of Cake. And this is a section dedicated to hearing out the biggest challenges along the way and the toughest moments. And I want to invite you to take out something sweet that you like.
That would
Tell me about the toughest moment that you've had throughout your impact journey.
I eat this while I do this.
Yeah.
Give me a sec. Well, let me think. Actually, I would say for me, it was actually when I was graduating, which is now a year and a half back, roughly. And it was a really tough time because, well, so for starters, all of my friends had jobs at like top investment banks, right? And so they were not just doing well; they were really like cream of the crop. Well, I didn't have a job. I had to pay rent in 3 months, and my mom and dad were like kind of upset that I was not taking a job and I was trying to do my own thing without any real direction. And yeah, my relationship was going so well, so I just felt like at that point I had a lot of work. So it was my final year. I had a lot of courses. I was still trying to run this company, get it off the ground. So yeah, I'd say that was really one of the toughest times for me.
How did you create like a mindset of resilience and carrying on?
I feel that when I look back at things, when things were really bad, they weren't really that bad. Like in the moment, I felt they were a lot worse than how I did when I look back at it. And weirdly, it works the other way around. So when things are really, really good, they aren't really that good. That is as short as the bad situation, and that's gonna become more normal. So that realization in a way kind of sucks because when you're doing really great, it's not going to last. But also it helps you get through like really tough times. It helps you get through the lows because you know that things probably just aren't that bad and you're just overthinking it. And if you keep swimming, it's going to be fine.
Is there something you do every day, no matter what?
It's very weird to say, but I think about death. Well, not in a bad way, but like I realize and I'm conscious of the fact that I only have a certain amount of time. So every day I reflect on what it is I'm doing and why I'm doing it. I reflect on the fact that this is a journey that I'm on. and I just want to make sure that, okay, at least the time I have, am I doing the right thing with my journey? Is this the journey I want to be on?
What would you say to young people that are still trying to figure out what they want to do?
If you're already doing something, well, not just doing it, but kind of understanding why, right? So, like, I think that, as I said, like, I look at this as I'm on a journey, and that everyone has their own journey and their own path, their own kind of journey to figure out, kind of reach their own truth. And it's a very spiritual thing to say, but if you're on your own journey, at least you want to live that journey right? So if you're doing something, think about why you're doing it, and is this what you want to be doing in your journey? Does this fit into your journey in a nice way? And your journey can really be anything, it doesn't matter, right? So if you do that, I feel two things will happen. Is that, for starters, you will know why you're making choices, and that's what makes you less uncertain, right? You will know why you're making choices, and that's really important, because then you don't live with regret, because you knew, if you look back at it as well, you're like, okay, I made it because of this. I didn't just throw something in and try and figure it out. And the second is, I think it helps you believe in your own journey. It helps you create a story for yourself, where you came from and where you want to go. And that narrative is really powerful, because I think it creates a really good sense of self, and it helps drive, it makes you happier in a funny way, like knowing that you're doing whatever you're doing, like, on purpose. You know, it makes you feel in control of your life, even if it really may not be.
Do you think you're in control of your life and your path right now?
Oh, I think that everyone has a plan, and then life just throws, like, stuff on it. And then, so your plan never works out the way it is, but that's okay. That's why I like to look at it as a journey, right? It's like a story. And then it makes sense. So then, even if stuff gets thrown on it, you know the journey till now, and you can kind of visualize the journey further with this new change.
You just mentioned, like change happens whenever you want it or not. I'm curious if there's something that you actually do to change yourself for the better.
Well, change is the only constant. I mean, for me, what helps me deal with change is learning, right? There's learning in the present, which is you make a mistake and you learn from it in the now. There's learning for the future, which is I expect this to happen and I'm preparing for it, right? But I think a lot of people miss out on learning from the past, and that is doing reflection, spending time to just think about how things went, how you did and how you're doing, and was that the right thing, and how can you be a better person learning from what happened, right? So I think that people do a lot of learning in the present, which is just winging it, dealing with things as they come. People do a lot of learning for the future, but I think people don't learn in the past, right, in that direction, in terms of reflection. And I think if you can do that, you will find change actually good.
Thank you so much for all these questions and answers. It was a pleasure learning from you, and have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Maria.